Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to part 2 of the Kilmar Armando Abrigo Garcia case, court case that took place today. Firstly, where the Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents illegally, erroneously, unlawfully deported him in orders of the Trump administration, despite knowing that they were under a non-removal order from a 2019 immigration judge. Let's get into the second portion. The article is titled, Judge in Abrigo Garcia case indicates she's weighing contempt proceedings against Trump administration officials. And ladies and gentlemen, the article reads, the judge presiding over the case of a man who was mistakenly deported by the government of the United States to a prison in El Salvador suggested Tuesday that she was weighing contempt proceedings against the Trump administration. U.S. District Judge Paula Xinis ordered administration officials to turn over evidence. Their efforts to help bring Kilmar Abrigo Garcia back to the U.S. lawfully, legally, and constitutionally, and lawfully. Ladies and gentlemen, my editorial note. Since she first ordered them to facilitate his return. With that note, ladies and gentlemen, they were also ordered in a 9-0 unanimous ruling to facilitate the return. Hence, the 9-0 ruling was upheld by the Supreme Court and by Chief Justice John Roberts. Saying the government had not shown her anything of note on that front. I've gotten nothing. She said, I've gotten no real response, no real legal justification for not answering, she continued, adding that if the administration is not going to answer her questions, then justify why. That's what we do in this House. Attorneys for Abrigo Garcia had asked that the administration be found in contempt of court over its enactation of the judge said She wants to review the evidence the Trump administration submits, which is expected to include sworn depositions before ruling on the matter. She ordered officials from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the State Department, and the Department of Homeland Security to sit for the depositions and for the administration to hand over documents by the end of the month to see what steps it's taken to comply with her order. In a written order after the hearing, Xinis said that if the administration does not comply with that part of her order, Abrigo Garcia's lawyers are free to seek separate sanctions on an expedited basis. Speaking for the Trump administration, Drew Ensign of the Justice Department said during the hearing that the government had complied with the judge's previous directives. He also said that if Abrigo Garcia were to show up at a port of entry, we would facilitate his return into the United States before taking him into custody. Abrigo Garcia was deported on March 15 and taken to a notorious prison in El Salvador, despite an immigration judge's 2019 order barring him from being sent to his home country. Government lawyers have said he was taken there as the result of an administrative error. Xinis previously ordered the Trump administration to try to bring Abrigo Garcia to the back to the U.S., where he could be given due process. The Supreme Court partially affirmed that order last week in a 9-0 unanimous decision. Ladies and gentlemen, my editorials note. Saying Abrigo Garcia's removal was illegal, and that Xinis' order properly requires the government to facilitate Abrigo Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador and to ensure his case is handled as it would have been had he not been improperly sent to El Salvador. During an Oval Office meeting Monday between President Trump and President Nayib Bukele, the Salvadorian president told the reporter that he wouldn't send Abrigo Garcia back to the U.S., calling the question preposterous. None of the U.S. officials present at the meeting asked that he be returned, something the judge pointed to Tuesday when Ensign tried to use the meeting as evidence of the U.S. government's efforts to comply with her earlier order. Xinis pointed out that a reporter had asked Bukele the question and that administration officials didn't respond to questions about what steps they have taken to secure Abrigo Garcia's return. In her written order, the judge questioned why Abrigo Garcia was still inexplicably detained in prison. While the government has said he's being detained pursuant to sovereign domestic authority of El Salvador. The record thus far demonstrates that the United States has paid, had paid $6 million to house those detainees in custody pending pending the United States decision on their long-term deposition. She went on to say that his lawyers could seek answers as to who authorized his initial placement there and presently authorizes his continued confinement. Rina Ganda, an attorney for Abrigo, said Tuesday's hearing marked progress. The case about whether Abrigo is the case isn't about whether Abrigo Garcia is a terrorist. This case is about the government unlawfully and admitted to unlawfully removing a gentleman from this country, from Maryland, from his home, his family, his children, and taking no no meaningful steps to fix them as part by the Supreme Court. As ordered by the Supreme Court in a unanimous decision, she said, outside the courthouse. Ahead of Monday's Oval Office meeting, Stephen Miller, a top White House advisor, denied any mistake was made in deporting Abrigo Garcia and argued he was able to be legally removed because he's a member of the criminal gang MS-13, which Trump has labeled as a foreign terrorist organization. Lawyers for Abrigo Garcia have denied he's a gang member, and Xinis questioned the evidence the immigration judge used years earlier to make that termination. She noted in a ruling that he has no criminal record in the U.S. or El Salvador, and that evidence against Abrigo Garcia consisted of nothing more than his Chicago Bulls and hoodie, and a vague, uncorroborated allegation from a confidential informant claiming he belonged to MS-13's Western Critique in New York, a place he has never lived. The White House, however, has doubled down on those allegations without providing any evidence to support the claims. Abrigo Garcia was a foreign terrorist. He is an MS-13 gang member. He was engaged in human trafficking. He illegally came into the country, our country, and so deporting him back to El Salvador was always to be the end result. U.S. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said to reporters Tuesday. Abrigo Garcia's wife, Jennifer Vasquez-Serra, offered a different view of her husband, who she said had dedicated himself to making our family's American dream come true. She argued her husband to stay strong urged her husband to stay strong before the hearing which she attended. Kilmore, if you can hear me, stay strong. God hasn't forgotten about you. Our children are asking, when would you come home? And I pray for the day, she said. Trump was asked in a Fox Noticias interview that aired Tuesday about whether Abrigo Garcia would be returned to the U.S. That's really a decision that will be made by the government of El Salvador, he said. Total BS, if you ask me. Total BS. As always, we will follow for more information and keep up to date as much as we can as the story progresses. If you did enjoy this video, this legal breaking reporting and legal breaking analysis update, please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. If you guys would like to make sure you never miss a brand new legal breaking reporting and legal breaking analysis update, please consider hitting the bell icon that is right next to the subscribe button down below and hitting the all notifications bell. You guys can also do so and keep up to date on when I post a legal breaking analysis reporting and legal breaking analysis update by following me on my social medias that'll be linked down below in the video description. I am on Instagram, Snapchat, Threads, as well as TikTok. Thirdly, ladies and gentlemen, please help me reach and achieve the goal of 150 subscribers. The reason why I am saying 150 subscribers, ladies and gentlemen, is because right after we reach and achieve the goal of 150 subscribers, we have more subscribers to reach and achieve right after we reach and achieve the goal of 150 subscribers. Fourthly, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, there appears to be a new update from Judge Xinis that I just found out about, that she is planning to hold the Trump administration in contempt of court, which is pretty much what we just went over along with the details from the court hearing in the second portion of this video. I will update you guys on more information as this story gets progressed and more details become available. Until my next legal breaking reporting, please stay positive, stay safe, and know that justice will prevail on the correct side of the law, despite Donald Trump and his illegal administration's lawless, illegal orders and executive actions and behaviors.